We're going to talk about more of what could define the next era of the Chicago Bulls. Reportedly, Matt Lloyd has become the frontrunner of the Chicago Bulls front office exec position. Is that the best thing for the Chicago Bulls? And who would he be bringing with him as the head coach? Could it be Micah Nori, or has Tiago Splitter made himself one of the frontrunners for the Bulls position with what he's done with Portland in the playoffs? We'll talk about it all and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Derek Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go to get into this content for today, y'all. So we're going to start off talking about the open exec. A lot's been made over the fact that the Bulls do not have one yet. The NBA draft lottery and the draft combine, which start on the same day, are only less than 2 weeks away, basically exactly 2 weeks away when it comes down to it. And so the question becomes about who is going to be the person in that position. Where Julia Poe of the Chicago Tribune reported that Minnesota Timberwolves general manager Matt Lloyd has become the obvious frontrunner for the gig. There's a number of reasons for that. He's a native of Chicago. We all know that. He already worked with the franchise from 1994 as an unpaid intern up to 2012 in a lot of capacity, starting off at the video room, and then became the head scout when it came down to it. He departed the team as director of college scouting, right? That's where he left the team in 2012, right? Look at what he's done in Minnesota so far. He's helped scout talent. There's been some of the top tier talent on it, on top of fleecing the Chicago Bulls for Ayo Dosunmu, who is having an absolute hellacious run with the Minnesota Timberwolves. But when you look at it right now, the praise that Matt Lloyd has really become about is it comes off of him really coming down and just being a guy who's a connector, understanding the scouting. One of the guys that has used a mix of analytics plus being in-person scouting. You know, he's scouted a number of people in face. He likes to get in there and personal when it comes down to it, right? His personality, his leadership skills, these are all things that the Chicago Bulls want there, and he's not going to be somebody that shies away from the microphone when it comes down to it, right? And then I also think you have to look at the prior ties to the organization that Matt Lloyd does have. The Reinsdorfs are one of the more unique ownership groups in basketball. It just is what it is. Take that for what you will, bad, good, whatever. They're one of the most unique ownership groups in basketball. The fact that he already understands and has seen people who have managed the Reinsdorfs, work with the Reinsdorfs, right? That comes down to it. And reportedly as well, like Matt Lloyd was a real big part of drafting the talent around the Derrick Rose era. He was one of the masterminds reportedly behind the Jimmy Butler pick, right? And that was Gar Forman's best pick. So, you know, the thing is, and I think when you look at a negative when it comes to Matt Lloyd, is that he's working under Tim Connolly. The last time we hired somebody to this position was somebody who worked under Tim Connolly. That was Arturas Karnisovas. But I think that, you know, Matt Lloyd, on top of already being familiar with the organization, the Bulls already know his personality. But one could then say, too, is like, well, why wasn't Matt Lloyd considered before? I do think he was on the short list, but I think, you know, at that point in time, like he some other things going on. You know, I think if I read correctly, he was a finalist for the last time that these rounds went around. They just decided to go with Arturas. So Matt Lloyd has become one of my personal favorites in this, and it's because of all the things. He has drafted well. That is something that is so important to basketball. I think if you draft and scout well and find a way to get value out of every first-round pick that you have, meaning even first-round picks that are in, like Jimmy Butler, 30th, right? Like towards the end, if you can do that, that is so important in building a team, and with the Bulls as well, being a team that does not pay the luxury tax, even though now most of the teams in the league don't. But I think only 6 teams pay the luxury tax this past year, something like that. Like, so, you know, in that you have to get that done, right? So you have to be able to get value out of every draft pick. And Matt Lloyd is somebody that I do trust is going to get that value. That is really how you build, because even if you have the 28th pick in the draft and you find value, doesn't have to be a starter, but you find a player that can actually play into your rotation, that is a cost-controlled, team-friendly contract that you're getting value out of late in the first round. That is such an important part of team building. And so Matt Lloyd, as an architect of building a team and understanding the value proposition for it, I think that that's the best value that he does have as well as the respect that he has around the league. He has tons of respect around the league for what he's done, and that's the thing that really stands out about him. You factor in Chicago ties to the organization where he got his start in the NBA in this organization. I've said for a long time, I would love for the Bulls to eventually become that organization that has guys that go from the video room to becoming head coach, or go from the video room to becoming a lead assistant, go to the video room to becoming a GM, right? I think you look at the really good franchises around the league and the ones that sustain success for a long time, they have those things built into their organization. And Matt Lloyd has a chance to do some of that here and come back to the franchise that he started it off with. So I'm not saying let's put all our eggs in the Matt Lloyd basket. I still think Lindsey from Detroit is a really good option as well there. I'm not saying let's put it all in the Matt Lloyd bucket, but if he is truly becoming the front runner for this position, I personally don't take any issue with it. The question then becomes about how would Matt Lloyd build out his staff? How would he build out the head coach? And that's where I want to take this conversation next to, right? Two candidates. You guys know, I want to be clear here. Chris Quinn is still my absolute favorite candidate for Chicago Bulls' next head coach. Let me be very clear on that. That is the guy that I would want running this show. That is the guy that I would want to invest, but it's not me making the decisions, right? That's not me. And so the question becomes about if you are trusting Matt Lloyd, who is a guy that was another number two under Tim Connolly, like Arturas Karnisovas was, right? And there is a risk, I think, as well from hiring from winning organizations, because when organizations start winning and win at a high level, everybody kind of shares the praise and a little bit, or people are looked at like, damn, he came from that winning organization. That would be a good hire. And real talk, he may not have the decision-making, capability there, but Matt Lloyd seems like he does have that. But one of the connections that Matt Lloyd does have is to one of the people that we've heard it could be a front runner for the head coach position, and that's Micah Nori, right? And so I want to talk about Micah Nori. I want to talk about Tiago Splitter as two head coaching considerations to be made here. Micah Nori, would be Matt Lloyd have intimate familiarity with him because of them being both with the Timberwolves organization, right? He's widely considered a top-tier head coaching candidate that is likely to succeed due to the experience that he has around the league. He has a very high regard amongst reportedly a lot of league executives. You know, he's been a big key in Minnesota's success as well. He was voted the best assistant coach in the NBA in 2025. He excels in communication, reportedly in-game strategy, which is a big thing, player relationships, and has acted successfully as a head coach during Minnesota's Timberwolves playoff runs as well to help that head coach in Chris Finch, right? So when you look at this, the things when you look at what is the strengths of Micah Nori, right, is that he's had high-pressure situations before. When Chris Finch was injured, Micah Nori was the one that stepped in and head coach in those playoffs, right? So he's proven that he can handle head coaching responsibilities. Now, for what it's worth, I think Chris Finch was still the one coming up with the game plans and stuff, but in-game adjustments, all those type of things, that was on Micah Nori, right? The regard that he has around the league is really good. And reportedly, the technical expertise that he brings to the situation is really good there. He has been reported as crafting the defensive schemes and managing offensive rotations, including maximizing Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert on the court together, which wasn't the most seamless fit, right? So he was the guy that's been given a lot of credit for helping craft those defensive and offensive schemes that help balance those two things out. Reportedly, he has a really good leadership there. He has humor and a really good communication style that really, he's been described as a vibes guy. He brings really good vibes to a team, and the players really respond to that. I think you need a guy who can connect to players and understand that. So you pair in the analyticals with the X's and O's and the personality standpoint of it. It seems like a really good head coach, coaching candidate in my experience, in my opinion. He also has 25 years of NBA experience working under Mike Malone, Dwayne Casey, and now Chris Finch. So, it really does feel like that Tibbs thing. Like, people will remember, I think Tibbs became an assistant in 1989, and he took all those years up into the Bulls to get a head coaching position. Micah Nori is very much so in that same ilk, a guy that has had to build up himself and work under a lot of different head coaches, but has had success and now finally may be ready to take on that head coaching position and get there. Now, some of the negatives that you have to consider in that as well is that he would be a first-time permanent head coach. While he stepped up in an intern basis, short intern basis for Chris Finch, he has that. And then there have been some to say that, is he system dependent? Is he successful as a head coach because he's building off of Chris Finch's system? And that is a fair question to ask when it comes down to Micah Nori. But I think when you look at it, his acumen with X's and O's, his ability to relate to players, his strong reputation around the league, and the fact that a guy that's now listed as the front runner for the position in Matt Lloyd, him and Matt Lloyd and Micah Nori already have a familiarity with each other. So it could very well be that the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Bulls' future, is you're watching a lot of it with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I know many people would hope that that future also includes Ayo Dosunmu. But then I want to talk about a guy that coming into this process, I honestly didn't expect to like as much as I have, and that is Tiago Splitter. He has done an admirable job with the Portland Trail Blazers and having to manage that whole situation. Like, he's already shown that he can manage adversity with dealing with the whole Chauncey Billups situation, getting the team together. Now the new owner coming in and all that noise around the new ownership. Look that up if you want to know what I mean in that one. All the noise that he's had to manage with that new ownership group. Like, he's just done that very well while also developing Denny Advia, developing Shaedon Sharpe, developing Scoot Henderson. You see the way that Scoot has been playing? Like, and then even going to battle with the San Antonio Spurs team in the way that they have is not something I think could just be easily ignored. Like, this is a Portland Trail Blazers team that if their season would have went left, right? And I know that they're down 2-1 to the San Antonio Spurs. There's no doubt that the Spurs are the better team. But if their whole season would have went left after the Chauncey Billups and after the Shaedon Sharpe injury, then missing Scoot Henderson for a long time, like, nobody would have then. We'd be like, all right, it's an interim head coach that had to deal with some adversity. It's cool. It is what it is. But the team thrived, an above 500 record, 42-40, with all those things going on. I really do think, and in X's and O's standpoint, you see it on the basketball court. I think that Tiago Splitter has done an admirable job in that, and I do think that he's had to face with one of the more unique situations possible. And the fact is that you're not just looking at him. Yes, he's an interim head coach, but he's coached the majority of the season, right? And so because of that, you've gotten to see so much of what he could be. And you also look at him and say, look, he's 41 years old, which is really young for a head coach. The coaching skills that he's already displayed as the Blazers push the San Antonio's team, his ability, Donovan Clingan is another player that I didn't mention, really having a really good next year under Tiago Splitter as well. Listen, I think that Splitter, you're seeing the proof of what he could bring as a head coach, and it's hard to ignore what you can see with your eyes. I think the resume for Tiago Splitter is one that is absolutely great, and I do think his coaching style definitely fits the Chicago Bulls team, right? He creates a player-focused culture and system. He builds it off the players. And so that's the thing that I think that you look as well. You look at the scheme that he has, right? It's built off, he's mixed the NBA and international styles. What do the Chicago Bulls have? International players on their team, right? Like, there's just no doubt about it. So, and I think when you're able to mix both of those, because international basketball is very different than NBA basketball, the way that you're able to mix both those things together, I think that we're seeing it right now. And I think it could work for Modest. It can work for Josh Giddey. I think you see those two things coming into this team, and you add in the modern, hopefully with getting a big this year. I think that Tiago Splitter should be getting more recognition for possibly being the Chicago Bulls' next head coach. I actually think that it could be the right hire. But let me know what you guys think on those things down below. Between Micah Nori and Tiago Splitter and their case for being the Bulls' next head coach, what do you think should happen? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. But with that said, it is Sunday. That means it is mailbag day. Let's get into these voicemails, man. We got 3 voicemails to get into today. This one's from Trey.
What's up, Hayes? This is Trey. I'm a longtime Bulls fan, longtime fan of your channel. I like everything y'all saying about the recent drafts and all of that. But I did want you guys to emphasize, you specifically to emphasize on the trades that we made during AK's reign when he was trading guards for guards and stuff and all of that. And I always thought that we were kind of light. We were light in the, in the big man category. We've been there for a while, and I don't know why won't we drive, like, why won't we ever trade for a big man, like a good, decent big man, because we have no inside presence at all, like, whatsoever. And I wanted to hear your take on that, and it's been like that for a while. So shout out to the show. Thanks a lot for listening.
I think that the Bulls, the fact that I think they tried to land a big man. We heard very heavily at this trade deadline they were trying to go after Yves Missi to add some big man depth to the team. But I think it all comes back is that the Bulls could have had a starting caliber big man in Walker Kessler, but they decided to draft Dalen Terry over Walker Kessler. And that's something that AK has never rebounded from. Andre Drummond was cool here for a while, make no mistake about it. Jalen Smith has been good here, but better as a 4 than a 5. Zach Collins was really good when he was on the court for us, but he hasn't been able to stay on the court, right? So you look at those type of things. like our inability to land the big man that we need, the defensive rim protecting big man that we need, has been loud. And it has been one of the biggest misses from AK. And I hope that the next front office rectifies that soon into their tenure here, finding that next big man, hopefully of the future for the Chicago Bulls. There are going to be some options this year between Isaiah Hartenstein, Mark Williams, Walker Kessler. There are options in the draft with a Daymar, Christian Jr., those type of guys. So the Bulls can find a nice mix of current center, right, to play now for a couple of years while you're developing that next young guy. And hopefully they take advantage of that new front office doesn't have the same blind spot that AK had with finding the Bulls' next big man. That was a great first voicemail, Trey. I appreciate you for it. Let's get into this next one. This one's from Shay.
What's up, Hayes? It's Shay. Look, man, I just got finished work. I'm watching the Denver versus Timberwolves game right now, and watching Ayo right now drop 40 points, if I'm not mistaken. Watching this shit right here hurts like hell. Not just because we once had it. We once had it on our team, but the fact of the matter is that we could have had it for next year if we just had the right person doing the right things and the goddamn front office. Mind you, he's doing this without Dante DiVincenzo or Anthony Edwards right now. Look, man, I know you've been crying over spilled milk, man, but damn, seeing him do this with high efficiency, and not to mention he's doing it without a star player, and he's actually going up in the playoffs, and he ain't never been, well, he was in the playoffs his first year, but the fact that he's taking to the playoffs like a duck taking the water right now on another team, and we still don't know if Dillingham or if whatever the guy that we like his name is gonna be good next year. Man, it just hurts. Just to know that we had this on our team. And I know a lot of people gonna say, "Oh, we said same thing about Alex Caruso," but that's a different thing. You know what I'm saying? Josh Giddey had potential. But the fact that we just let it go and the jury's still out on Dillingham and the other guy, man, this just hurts like hell, man. It just hurts like hell because we could have built with this guy and with Kobe too, but damn, this just hurts, man. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
The Ayo Dosunmu trade just keeps getting worse, man. I mean, it just keeps getting worse. I don't think, like, you look at what Ayo's done, and the fact of the matter that makes it hurt so much with the Ayo situation is that we saw Ayo get better every single year. He got better every single year since his sophomore season. That sophomore slump, he's gotten better every single year. Everything that the Bulls could throw at him, starting, coming off the bench, whatever, he excelled at. And now you're getting to see how bad that trade was. Again, the Bulls didn't have to trade him. They could have extended him, right? They could have done those type of things. And then even if they wanted to move him, you could have did it at that point. But Ayo Dosunmu was showing, and, you know, especially when you're now talking about finding the shooting guard that could be next to Josh Giddey long term, that could have very well been Ayo Dosunmu. But it is what it is. You know, Ayo is probably never coming back. I know a lot of Bulls fans want this offseason to be about bringing Ayo Dosunmu back, and I understand it. And listen, hey, if the Bulls sign Matt Lloyd, get Micah Nori as their head coach, and bring back Ayo Dosunmu, like, then all our futures in Minnesota, great. I'm not mad about that, right? But I think just ultimately, like, it doesn't seem like it's going to be likely, but the Ayo Dosunmu trade is just a huge miss, bro. All right, let's get into this last one, man. This one's from Reggie.
Hey, this is Reginald. I'm calling because with the Bulls having 2 first-round picks, I was wondering if there was a player you would consider trading the 15th pick for. I know we all want to get a good quality player with that pick, maybe Kareem Lopez or there's a couple of players I want if they drop the 15, but all the players that I'm looking at have high potential, but they also have some obvious weaknesses, whether it's they struggle defensively or they don't really have a three-point shot, or maybe despite being like over 7 feet tall, they're not really great rim protectors or great rebounders. So for me, is there a veteran out there who you would trade a 15 pick for? Also, would you trade Jalen Smith for like to a team like San Antonio? I think they got like the 33rd or 34th pick in the second round. I don't know if someone like a Malik Thomas would still be available, but I like the fact that he's, a really good shooter. So who can knock down a lot of threes for a team that doesn't have a lot of three-point shooters. In a league where you have to have multiple three-point shooters on the court, just in case someone on the opposing team gets hot. What's your opinion on those two things? Would you trade Jalen Smith for an early second-round pick, and would you trade the 15th pick for a vet? Thanks.
I think every player has weaknesses. Every player, whether you're signing a veteran or not, every player is going to have weaknesses. So I'm not moved by the fact of, all these players that we look at number 15 have weaknesses. Guess what? Veterans that you go out and get, they're going to have weaknesses too, or they started off with that. I think where the Bulls are right now, I'm not against if they decided to trade the 15th overall pick, but I think when you look at where they are with cap space, where they are with, those type of things, you don't have to trade a 15th overall pick to get that. You have the cap space to get that done. So do both, right? I think the Bulls are in a position where they don't have to accelerate their timeline. That's something that AK did early on, and we saw, you probably would have been better off holding on to these picks and not accelerating the timeline. I think that you're going to see more patience from somebody that comes in here. Now, I'm not saying that it's outside the realm of possibility or to be wrong for them to trade the pick, depending on what the trade is. But I think, when you look at it, you can get veterans. You got the money to get veterans, and definitely superstars aren't coming here, so you got the money to get veterans, whether it's absorbing their cap space, i.e. Isaiah Hartenstein, if you try to absorb him into your cap space before the Thunder, waive his contract or whatever is there, you can do that. You can go out and sign those veterans that are out there. So I don't think you have to trade the 15th overall pick. And if I had my choice, I'd rather see the Chicago Bulls cover their picks a little bit more because we have a long timeline ahead of us. As far as the Jalen thing, I can understand if the Bulls do move him and strike where his value is as high. But I think he's also been really good for this team. He's young, right? He's the type of veteran you just talked about adding, a younger guy that is really cheap and, still performs well in his role now that we've seen him next to Modest. At him at the 4, Modest at the 3 was a really good rhythm for both of them. So I'm not mad at either way with it. The thing that overall I want to see with whoever takes over this team, the moves that you make just have to make sense and push the Bulls forward in some type of way. As long as it does that, cool. Right? Like I try to tell you guys, I don't think we're in a point now where we can be married to any of these guys because you just don't know what the new eyes that are going to be in this team decide to do with it. And so we'll see how that shakes out in this offseason. But great question there, Rez. I think that was a great question by you. But that's going to do it for today's, right? So I want to hear from you guys, right? This is one of those moments. The Bulls are looking for the next executive. They're looking for the next head coach. So I got to ask you guys this question. Do you want Matt Lloyd running this team? Or is there another candidate that you think should be the favorite right now? And then who do you think should be the next head coach? Drop your thoughts down in the comment section below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. Well, you guys already know what it is. It's Chicago Bulls Central. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you ready for again, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.